Ea, air, erectus. Good morning, everyone. Oh my god. It's going to be a short week this week because we have just today and tomorrow. That's it. And then, and Friday. But today, tomorrow, and then Wednesday will be our annual Christmas movie. And Thursday will obviously be Crimbus. So, can't do anything on Crimbus. So yeah, it's gonna be a short one this week. Gonna be short. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so I forgot. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to watch the Hunter the Parenting episode. Shit. Anyways, okay. I know, la gasp. So watched a bunch of animals. I'm pretty good. Again, we're gonna talk about some stuff. Stuff. I'm gonna add I've got a couple of supernaturals lined up that I'm going to put into the setting. I was trying to figure out how to work them in, and then I just kind of had like a spark of inspiration on how to work them in. I'm gonna change both. I've got them marked in the Discord right now. I'm gonna change both of them. This is my quick, down and dirty, get my notes down. Now we're gonna be finessing them and working them into a thing, and I've got ideas. Yeah, we're going to do some ideas. First and foremost, though, Gachi Okuda had its season finale. A very, very fun reveal. I liked the season finale a lot. Hang on, I want to show you my favorite part of the episode. There were two parts. This isn't going to be I'm not going to reveal the big secret or anything like that. So don't worry. There's no spoilerinos. It's just the funny part, right? It's just the funny. I'm not gonna reveal the big secret. Okay, so Rudo and some of the cleaners are going to go get. They're going to go to Canvas Town, so they need to walk. They need to walk through Whole City, which has a bunch of, oils that seep up from the ground, and they actually make really good pigments that last a long time. So the artist wants to buy stuff. They get accosted by a kidnapper who wants them to come with him. Well, that's silly. All right. Who wants him to come with them to get some candy, right? Right? You want candy, right? Oh. I didn't know I had so much power. All right. So, Kidnapper comes up to them, and Rudo is a sweet tooth fiend. Now, to be fair, they warned people that sugar is, more valuable than drugs down on the ground. It is the most valuable thing ever. So he has a sweet tooth fiend. He is going crazy. Hey, that's a kidnapper. Obviously, stranger danger, blow the whistle, right? Blow the whistle. So Rudo is not thinking, and he follows him, but Rudo is known for his good nose. This is my favorite part. You don't smell. Oh. We've got a weak sauce anime in One Punch Man Season 3, it wouldn't animate all of this. In Gachi Akuda, they animate multiple times of this dude getting kicked in the nuts from multiple different angles. Oh my god, it's so fucking good. It's so good. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Dude, it's so fucking good. Oh, alright. Alright. Okay. So, I just want to show that part. Again, great reveals. I want to talk about the big reveal, which was Rudo's last name. And the friends, the Watchmen, the series he has, the gloves he has come from apparently an old friend of the original spellcaster. But yeah, I want to talk about it, but it's spoilery. But it's that funny situation where, like, you see them, you hear the name at first, and you're like, that's a strange last name, and then you think about it for a second, and you're like, hold on a second, let me just grab this and just whoop the 180 it, and you're just like, nah, nah, okay, all right, you know what? Fuck it. Massive spoilers ahead for this. Massive spoilers ahead. So, his gloves originally belonged to a man called the Undertaker. The man's full name was Canis Sherbreck. Okay? Canis Sherbreck. And then Rudo freaks the fuck out. He's just like, okay. Chad, do you see it immediately? Because I had a brief moment of like, that's a goofy name. And then I saw it and I was like, oh. Oh. Oh, actually, that explains a lot. A lot. Like, a fuck ton. Like, an unbelievably ungodly amount of things. Like, especially the wrathful side of Rudo. Like, it explains a lot. Yeah, I'll leave it here for like 10 more seconds. Let me know if anybody sees it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie or gets that reference, but there you go. But yeah, that explains so much. Anyways, let's now talk a bit about other shenaniganry. So yeah, watch that. I haven't bothered watching the new One Punch Man episode. They've been so bad. I've seen people already post the thing. I will show you guys the meme, right? Because everybody's been posting it, and it's dire. So as BRY OPM says, screw this season. You'll get to see like what the manga looks like and what One Punch Man season 3 gave us. And there's a reason they're like, screw this fucking season. Look at this shit. How fucking lazy. How completely lazy. One Punch Man season 3 is a fucking disaster. It is a disaster of nigh biblical proportions. Bro turned into the Epstein files. Holy fuck, I didn't realize that was the first comment. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. We got this guy called Some Guy on the Internet. SGOTI. Might as well be some retard on the internet. Oh. His response to that was, most ungrateful fandom. This is what a consumer is, chat. This is what a peak fucking consumer, an absolute moron looks like. These are the people that we call the colonizers, that you want to cast out. These are the people you want to gatekeep. These disgusting, mentally yeah. No, these are the people you want to keep away from anything you care about. Alright. So, two things. First, let's do the preview, so I can show you where we're at. Then we will talk about two of the supernaturals we're bringing in. We'll talk about what Prosecutor Valentine put in his stuff there, too, so we'll talk about it. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. No, just pure gatekeep. Just keep the fucking colonizers out. They do not care for the media that they consume. All they care is that they are consuming. They are monstrous gluttons of the worst kind. Also, I didn't realize how badly this... I mean, it's not loose. That's a bit concerning that this one's shattered. Sorry, I'm getting some stuff because I'm like, ugh. I need to get some antacids in me. Okay, this is all still sealed. So yeah, if you see, like, if seal is broken. Two, 3 tablets. Completely as symptoms occur or as directed by doctor. Alright. Oh, yes, chalk. My favorite. Blech. God, at least Tom's tried to make them fucking tolerable. Blech. Do not eat if seal is broken. Me on my way to break the seal, and it just shows like a little baby seal, and I've got a club. All right. So again, let's do this. So, then I'll also explain hellhounds again too, because it's in Prosecutor Valentine's message. Anyways, Harkus turned over in the cot and looked across the common room he shared with dozens of others. While some of the people, mostly those used to solitude, complained about the noise, all were thankful to have others nearby in this crisis. A couple of people from further outside town came into the sheriff's department and were being tended to by Dr. Fitzpatrick. They had just managed to escape a slaughter at Wendell's Diner on the road into town. In the blink of an eye, all those worries and doubts Harkus and some of the others had were gone. Harkus wanted to believe the worst of those afflicted with the wolf's murderous desires. The others gave voice to a likely cover-up being put into place. After all, why would something so outlandish happen in a backwater town like Point Crescent? Failing entirely to realize, it being an easily isolated community was entirely the point. Now all such doubts were dashed as 5 people who managed to escape a butchering were being treated by the good doctor. Morbid as it may have been, the emergency medical clinic set up in the morgue was a mercy they all desperately needed. The heartbreaking moment came when 2 of the victims were being treated turned out to be children, having lost one of their parents at the diner. No matter what misgivings anyone had before, it was now more clear than ever that this wild mage thing was a threat to the town's existence. Before, only a dedicated handful, especially veterans of the police or military forces within Rosentia, offered to perform whatever duty needed done. Now half the townspeople were volunteering to safeguard as many lives as possible and give those original guardians respite and downtime instead of spending the entire day in service. Things were rapidly becoming more organized, with barricades built up and observation areas constructed atop the bunker itself. A whirlwind of activity, with people even forming gathering groups, armed to the teeth and heading into town to bring more supplies, be it food, toiletries, medical supplies from the doctor's clinic. The list was extensive and fulfilled each task with gusto. Hang on, this needs to be fixed around, hon. And each task was fulfilled with gusto. That makes more sense. Spite and anger were incredibly powerful motivators. Clear to all who would now see Point Crescent was not going to go quietly, but bring down a wrathful vengeance upon the mad mageling. Common cause, and a righteous one at that, made for dangerous prey, which the necromancer would learn soon. It wasn't even the big stuff, but the smallest things that the dwarf took notice of. Perhaps it was because of his perspective as an outsider, but his view on the people of Point Crescent was changing. There was a shared bond forming between them. It was like watching a fire be stoked with ever greater quantities of fuel. If Harkus were to ask one of the veterans, they would like to confess to a shared experience before the reality of fighting came crashing down. These were those moments that were cherished above all others, when certainty of action was clear and concise, with no cause to second-guess one's own actions. Perfect clarity and understanding that this needs doing because it must be done, and rallying together all those of like mind and drive. Harkus felt like a fool. Timing turned as the universe itself seemed to conspire to make every assumption he had shattered against the cold reality of the situation. This wasn't a moment of shifting everything, but he had to at least question things. The wolves were right, and they were doing things to protect the town and keep as many people safe as possible. Were all the townspeople so afflicted? Unlikely, because then they would have just destroyed the belligerent dwarf in a moment, as all the wolves would have banded together. Say one thing about the beasts. They had each other's backs and treated each other, even without direct blood connection, as a family. Something he wished the great engineers of Ironforge would have offered to a son who broke from tradition. If such was the way of the dwarven clanholds, tradition meant everything, even when the original Ironforge broke tradition by refusing to become a smith and instead became an engineer. Tradition stated that they were to be cast aside, with Vatic Ironforge having to lose his familial name. It wasn't until a new clan rose with Vatic at the head that Ironforge was graced upon him again. That and the fact he bloodily destroyed every trace of descent from the old smiths, replacing one line with his own. Harkis would have had to do the same thing, yet he broke tradition twice, refusing to leave his family name, becoming a brewer instead of following the engineering bloodline. Rosentia was different. That old wolf bastard was right. No one cared that he broke tradition here. No one cared that he kept his family name. No one treated him as a pariah. Well, no one save for Connor. But as evidenced by the myriad interactions and run-ins with the sheriff and his deputies, no one much cared for Connor and his drunken shenanigans. The man was a right prick, to be sure. He had offered to share ownership of the bar once Harkis paid the foreclosure against it. The spiral down between the two had been equal parts confusing and shattering, as Connor raged against the very idea he needed help. This led to their current position as apathetic rivals, at least from Harkis's point of view, while the drunkard seemed to harbor intense hatred. At least there was something good about this being a crisis, and that there were so many people around, the man's antics and disposition would not be tolerated. Wait, did I already say he got it from the con? Hold on a second. I just realized. No, it's fine. Now he gets up. Okay. Harker slowly got up from that cot and meandered towards the door. All those thoughts racing through his head and the deep resentment he still felt, especially now so for the sheriff. He had never done him any wrong. Yet the truth of his existence was enough to fuel such animosity. This was the nature of his upbringing. The fact he was a creature now of falsehoods, masking their true self behind a facade of humanity, was enough. It should have been. He didn't need to be their friend. He wasn't asked to do anything special or absurd. He just needed to stay alive and protect himself. To this end, he began to make his way up the department's stairwell, designed specifically to force an intruder to clear every single floor of the 4-level bunker. He would make the trek all the way up, out the front doors, and then around to head for his bar. He was going to get a few necessities together for his own well-being. The downside to the bunker's layout was made all the more apparent as Harkis came upon the morgue. Sitting just outside was a little boy who had been seriously injured at the diner. Dr. Fitzpatrick and Dr. Andrews had both been working tirelessly through the early hours of the morning, and were now assisted by a pair of deputies and a few of the townspeople that had medical experience. The boy himself was treated by one of the Miller family, who had been a GP corpsman for the Rosentian Marines. Eventually, a little girl, who herself bore several bandages and stitches, sat quietly beside him, for he immediately snatched her hand and squeezed it firmly. Several stitches now adorned the face of an innocent, who should have had few worries beyond what new prank to play upon his sister before spending the hours in merriment. Not only were he and his sister injured, with exceptional mental trauma, their father was in surgery to remove a skeletal finger fired into his side, and their mother now took up a tray in the morgue. There had been nothing for it, as she had bled to death on their hurried flight from the diner and then to Point Crescent itself. The worst part, at least to Harkiss's mind, were the eyes. There was no fire or intensity in them, no youthful mischief or wonder. Instead, they were cold and distant. Even as the boy held his sister's hand firmly, giving silent acknowledgment that he would keep her safe, it was clear that he was suffering just as much. The thought was far too depressing for him, stirring memories of his own loss, and yet shame that mourning his status as an outcast was ever comparable to a child who had a parent brutally snatched away. So that's what we're up to thus far. Again, trying to make clear the cost of what the massacre at the diner was. Again, the cost that the necromancer isn't thinking about, because they're totally monomaniacal. They're totally focused on only their selfish goal. Alright, so first off, welcome Ultimate Agent. I don't know what Pontius video. I don't even know who Pontius is. Let's see. Yeah, so let's go talk about the 3 supernatural entities. We've already talked hellhounds before, but we'll bring it up again. I'm going to read Prosecutor Valentine's message first, and we will talk about that. Can a necromancer raise up a family in peace? Yeah. And then we're going to talk about some edits I'm going to make to some of them. But here we go. So Prosecutor Valentine said, I had Hellhound werewolves corrupted by the forces of hell, and Wendigos werewolves corrupted by pure, unblessed darkness, which turns them into nightmarish creatures that faces a wolf skull. So that was their original one. So I finally found a way, and I put out my first rough notation of bringing in Church Grims and Wendigos into the setting, and it feels natural. I'm just going to rename them a bit. I'm going to give the Wendigos a few names and going to give the Church Grims a few names. But yeah. So, Hellhounds in my setting, they are Wolverine, aka the werewolves, that have fallen to the temptations of the hells and have fully died, and their soul has been taken to the hells. They are reborn in the hellfires as demons. They are no longer they're no longer any purpose. They're not like just corruptions. They aren't just werewolves. They are 100% mechanically demons now. And that is what hellhounds are. So, you start out as a Wolverine. The temptations could fall you into a Smiler. A Smiler that isn't killed by the Wolverine and thus has their soul destroyed and eaten will eventually die by some means. Some for like sloth, they'll die just from the pure lethargy, right? Some will die like that, and they will become hellhounds. Again, if they aren't stopped, it's the thing that the Elder Skald tells Alex and them, like, you know, hey, we got to do this. You know, we kill them and destroy their soul if they become a Smiler for fear of what they should become otherwise. Because hellhounds are way worse. Smilers are bad. Hellhounds are on a totally different level. Again, there was in Guardians of Nature, they brought a massive team to go fight one hellhound, which was a gluttony hellhound. And you saw it was pretty fucking devastating as it was. So, the other 2 that we're adding are, like I said, Church Grims and Wendigos. I'm going to tell you what I have as the current notation first. We're going to change up a bit because I've had more ideas on it, and I'm going to fix up the notation to make it fit even better. So, The first notations we have are Grims are dead bodies possessed by dog spirits who want to protect the sanctity of the dead, ironically moving into a vacated body to do so. Yet the body they take is someone that wanted to be helpful but felt powerless to do so in life, hence attracting a church grim to them. Often happens to graveyard attendants and groundskeepers of cemeteries who often become self-conscious being around the dead so long. So I'm going to change this. Again, I didn't want to edit too much stuff here because I want to talk through first, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to change it. So first off, I'm not going to have it be, they're not going to take over dead bodies anymore. What I'm going to have it be is Church Grims will be normal hound spirits that, like, patrol around graveyards and cemeteries and everything. And they manifest themselves by basically, like, co-inhabiting a body, usually with a groundskeeper of a cemetery. Though anybody could be near a cemetery and it would happen. The trigger mechanism for it is like the mournfulness, the wishing for the sanctity of the dead and everything, and having sort of like a feeling of powerlessness. So the hound spirit, the canine spirit, will go into the person like as like, I will lend you strength to fulfill the task of, protecting this place. I'll be the guard dog, right? That is what we're going to change the Grim to. So it's no longer that. Spoiler alert. The reason I was thinking about this was because I wanted the groundskeeper to be something more than just a member of the Black Guard. I wanted him to be like, yeah, he was a member of the Black Guard, but he still felt hopeless and powerless, and then he made the wrong choice coming to Point Crescent because, it's like, well, it's out of the way, and who's going to come here? And, he had all those doubts and things like that, and he felt like he was useless. So then him having contract with a Church Grim to basically give him some extra capabilities. They're not much. He can't, like, shapeshift or anything like that. But he has an increased sense of smell. He has a bit better regenerative capabilities. He's a bit stronger and faster. So it's a little bit like a human plus, But he can't shapeshift or anything, which is not the case for the next category. So, again, we're going to alter this. I'm just going to keep it as Grims for now until we get a proper name for it. I need to think of a few names for it. I want 3 or 4 names. One from the Wolverine and Shifter perspective, so it'll be a more of a Nordic, Old Norse name. And then others from other perspectives of what they will be. Are the sanctity of graveyards, cemeteries, and burial sites. Oh, wrong kind of sites. Burial sites. I have the burial in my sights. Most often, though some rare exceptions occur, with graveyard keepers, groundskeepers of cemeteries, and morticians. Those often work with the dead and hold a keen sense of sanctity and respect for the dead and their remains, while also what's the way to put it? While also having, I don't really want to put depressive, Also expressing thoughts of powerlessness and hopelessness. Or hopelessness. And or. The Grim will make contact and form a bond with the affected individual, eventually merging the two as one being. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or as I said, imagine like a rifleman behind a scope, and he's like, "I've got the burial in my sight." Blah. All right. There's one being giving the newly bonded person greater strength, olfactory senses, agility, and regenerative capabilities, though no shape changing, nor are their abilities, while heightened, on par with even a Speya. Okay. That's the first one. Let me save that first. That's locked in. Alright. So I will read again what we've just put, like, in doing some alterations. We're going to do alterations for the next one as well. But I'm going to explain through what the changes are and what we're going to do. So I'm going to tell you what we had originally first. But here we go. For the Grims, Grims are people that have made mutual contract with canine spirits to safeguard the sanctity of graveyards, cemeteries, and burial sites. These are most often, though some rare exceptions occur, with graveyard keepers, groundskeepers of cemeteries, and morticians. Those who often work with the dead and hold a keen sense of sanctity and respect for the dead and their remains, while also expressing thoughts of powerlessness and or hopelessness. The Grim will make contact and form a bond with the affected individual, eventually merging the two as one being, giving the newly bonded person greater strength, olfactory senses, agility, and regenerative capabilities, though no shape changing, nor are their abilities, while heightened, on par with even a Speya. The sniper also says, "I'm here just in case." He can come back. We think he's dead, but just in case. Alright, so that's Grims. Like I said, I'll come up with a proper name for them and everything there. Next one are the Wendigo, which we're bringing in. So I put this in here. I'm going to change some bits. It's going to still be a Spirit of Terror, but we're going to change some bits. But first, here's what I had originally for my quick thoughts. Wendigo are people possessed by a spirit of terror who have minor shape-shifting abilities to take on a nightmarish form to scare the shit out of others. For the fear nourishes the spirit, which then devours the body to nourish its host. Terror spirits can forcefully take control of people on the verge of death, usually those who have murderous and cannibalistic intentions normally. They act normal but stalk their prey and then violently confront them to scare and then feast upon the flesh like a cannibal. Nice spin on the traditional Wendigo mythos. So I'm going to change it. I'm removing they need to be near death. That's being removed. I'm going to instead have a sense of dread and foreboding. Like there's an off-putting feeling before somebody eats their own kind, right? So, by the way, Victoria's going to bring up the idea of like, but you eat people. Led to Alex. Like, Alex, you've eaten people before. And he's like, yeah, but I'm not a person. I'm a Wolverine. We are our own race, Sure, we can intermix with you, but we are our own people. And, wolves got to eat. So, Essentially, and it works perfect for Rosentia because Rosentia is much more spiritual. All kinds of warnings about do not eat the flesh of your own kind. Do not consume thine own kind. Big, bold, like just don't fucking do it. And then have like a sense of trepidation, right? A sense of like fear and like a little bit of disgust and things like that. Even if they don't personally know, like if somebody's trying to trick them into doing it, even if they don't personally know, I want that to have like a sense of like there's something off. They have that vibe. Their sensibility, their soul is warning them. So, our people. Whoop. Shit. Your people possessed by a spirit of terror. After having consumed the flesh of their own kind. Or consumption. There is a general sense of foreboding and dread, with many pressing to a I want to do maybe like a nauseous feeling. A feeling of nausea. Yeah. When being near meat prepared in such a way. Being near flesh prepared as if to eat. No. When being near consumable flesh. Let's do that. I always spell nausea wrong. I mean, it's Nausea. I don't know why I always spell it wrong. Speaking of cannibalism, I'm playing New Vegas again. Just started Old World Blues. Wow. Also, I'm not a person. You're right. I'm a dragon. It's different. Or a Dracoran. But still. Anyways. Oh, also I wanted to build up to like how this happens. Like the spirit of terror doesn't just immediately take them over. If it finds somebody so afflicted, it gets so much worse for them. It is a descent into hell in and of itself. Feeling of nausea. And let's put nausea and dread when being near consumable flesh. Should someone ignore these warnings, be it from dire need, be it intentional or otherwise, then their soul is marked within the spirit realms for terror spirits to find. Once a terror spirit has stumbled upon a suitable host, or no, because let's not do host. Suitable victim. The afflicted person will begin experiencing ever worsening nightmares that eventually follow them into the waking world. This then advances to seeing things out the corner of their eye, then advances further to seeing it in reflective surfaces, and finally in seeing it in shadows lurking near them. Once the victim has been consumed by the spirit of terror, it bestows upon them a shape-shifting capability, usually shifting into a form with various... Because I don't want Wendigo just to have like, oh, it's a wolf skull, oh, it's a deer skull, things like that. I want it to be various animal like skulls and things like that, like things that look horrifying. Animal skulls. Replacing the head to scare prey. The spirit feasts on the fear of the prey and then consumes the body to nourish its host. Okay, get rid of these now. But essentially, I want it to be like, you're constantly told, do not consume the flesh of thine own kind. Do not consume the flesh of thine own kind. Over and over and over again, through all the different religions and everything like that. They're like, don't do it. Don't do it. It's bad. And this is like the consequence of doing it. You're basically marked in the spirit realm. You could get lucky and, a spirit of terror doesn't find you, but they can see you, like, clearly. So, if there is a spirit of terror lurking nearby and it happens to look your way, it knows that you are a potential host. And then it will start that cycle where it's a build-up. It's not just like... The spirit of terror doesn't just, like, take you instantly. No, it toys with you. It makes you feel torment and horror and fear. Again, which empowers it more and more. While it weakens you because you're getting more and more scared and paranoid and everything, you are empowering the spirit of terror. It's feeding off of that fear. It's got to renovate the house before moving in. Yep. Again, you're not surviving. You're not surviving this. This is a you're fucked. There is no coming back. And again, spirits of terror aren't inherently bad. That's the thing that Alex has to point out. Same thing John points out, even though he had to fight a spirit of terror. He's like, they're not inherently bad. They perform their function. They give fear. Having healthy fear, having terror, having dread is not a bad thing. They are warning signs. But because you also experience those things, you're kind of making them in the spirit realm. So it's kind of a cyclical thing. Because people feel fear, because dwarves feel fear, because elves feel fear, so on and so forth. They're creating these spirits. The spirits are then giving them fear, which again can be a healthy thing. Be afraid of running into a fire, be afraid of, falling off a cliff and things like that. There are good aspects to it. But the problem is that they are often not pleasant to be around. Even the other shifters, the Wolverine especially, are like, they're not ones we particularly like dealing with, but we can get some cool gifts from them if we do. Like, if we decide to go hang out with them and stuff, and we can learn some very useful and handy capabilities. Like the Visage of Fear is what gets used by the Smiler in Guardians of Nature at the very start of the book. That was the thing where, like, the darkness got even blacker, and the eyes and the mouth started glowing on the Wolverine, the smiler. And that's what freaked everyone the fuck out. That was the Visage of Fear in action. Alright. Save that for now. Boop. Okay. So those are the two ones in now. And again, I'm going to come up with a different name because I don't want to be Wendigo. And I don't want to be Grims. So I know we're going to have Skinwalker for the Wendigo. That's going to be one of the names. Will be Skinwalker. Because they can look like people and they stalk their prey. Like they look like a normal dwarf, they look like a normal elf, they look like a normal human. And so on and so forth. When they stalk their prey. And then they will strike in a moment of exceptional violence and fear because that's what the terror spirit is feeding off of. It nourishes their essence. But again, no spirits are like inherently good or bad. Demonic things are inherently evil. All demonic things are evil. But you could be friends with a terror spirit. Like, there's nothing that says you can't be. It's just that, unfortunately, its nourishment, its food source is fear, and you know, that's kind of a thing that not a lot of people like experiencing. Some people do because it's a nice adrenaline rush, right? But a lot of people don't like experiencing that. But hey, if you like going to the spookiest haunted houses you ever have seen, you're going across state lines to go to, like, this is the scariest, this is the one that will make you shit yourself. You'll probably get along really well with the terror spirit. And again, they can be very protective of people like that. Local roller coaster is haunted. No. I think that would be a funny joke of like, hey, you're back. Yep. So, did you have a good time at the mall? Yep. And then they see you pull out a gun and you're like loading and everything like that. And you're like, what are you doing? Food court's haunted. What? Food court's haunted. What do you mean? You go. The food court's haunted. No, the local shoe store is haunted. And you're gonna use a gun? That's still one of my favorite memes. The fucking moon's haunted, and he just have a Colt 45, like, moon's haunted. What? Hang on. Oh, here we go. Guardian, you're back early. Moon's haunted. Excuse me? Moon's haunted. Oh, there's so many people who have taken that meme and done some incredible things with it. If the secret world ever went to the moon, it would probably have a haunted place. It would, because remember, the secret world is part of it. All myths, legends, and everything like that are true. So there's a secret city on the dark side of the moon. So 1000%, we're going to a fucking, if secret world ever went to the moon, we're getting a fucking haunted house in the secret city of the dark side of the moon. 100%. Oh my god. This is a fucking trickster right here. Hold on. So this was just tangentially related. Hey, you guys ever worry about the moon? No. Why? No reason. I'm just being silly, I guess. Good night, my dudes. No. Why? Oh. Ah. Have you ever thought what would happen if you had a bunch of hot soup and then you or maybe drank a bunch of hot coffee and then had some ice cream right afterwards? Or what if it was the reverse? What if you had ice cream and your teeth were all frozen and you decided to have some boiling hot coffee? Would your teeth explode? What? Oh, don't mind me. I'm just being silly. Bye bye. Great. Now I'm going to be worried about my teeth exploding all day. Now I'm worried. God damn it, I've seen this meme everywhere too. Sorry. I I just got sidetracked and shit like this. Whoa, it's a perfect moon for a werewolf to come out. I'm gay. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. It's it's so stupid. Oh my god. You have two wolves inside you. Both are gay. Oh no. In OG Persona 2, the plot is based on all rumors becoming true, including moon Nazis. Oh no. I did not see that coming. Okay. So, another one, I want to bring in more like other interesting things because I Victoria is basically going to ask Alex and them like what um like what isn't true? Like what myths and legends aren't true basically, right? That's basically Victoria's going to be like just like okay, not everything can be true. Not everything can be like werewolves are real, vampires are real. Now we got they're gonna confront the gravekeeper because he's a church grim. Like okay, what isn't real? Ironically, fairies aren't real. Like what? Fairies aren't real? It's like yeah, fairies are just spirits that are being tricksters. Oh, and it's the other reason because they're gonna run into a werefox. Okay. They're actually going to run into a Volpavan. So, and the Wolverine and all the other shifters don't really have a high opinion of the Volpavan, which are werefoxes. And there's even a saying amongst the Wolverine that has become kind of a saying in Rosentia, just for, by process of osmosis, right? That we'll count we'll count the fox's tails once we've caught it, which is kind of it's a similar saying into the whole like we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It's in that same vein. We'll count the fox's tails when we catch it. And the reason they have that is because Volpavan can do what Kitsune in Kitsune in Asian Oriental myths, right? No, because this wouldn't have an Elvis. There was no Elvis in this setting. But anyways, Volpavan can do what Kitsune do. They get multiple tails, and the number of tails they have are kind of their like abilities. So they can store like major capabilities of themselves in a tail, and then they'll slowly grow another tail and another tail and another tail up to 9, right? Something like that odd French adage, don't sell the bear's hide before you killed it. Yeah. I mean, that's a good one. Yeah, so again, we'll count the fox's tails when we get it. The more tails that a Volpavan has, the less trustworthy they are, and that's kind of a again, it's a little bit of racism against them, but it's one they well earned, a reputation they have well earned. As even Brightbeak said, the spirit Brightbeak in Gardens of Nature is like the were foxes are too clever for their own good. They're tricksy little bastards. They're mischievous. So yeah, there's a werefox they're gonna run into as well, who is like, he's trying to be like, no, it's fine, I'm not doing anything. I'm like, oh yeah? How many tails you got? He's like, that's a very insensitive question. Don't trust the foxes, especially the VTuber ones. Yeah, it's like, that's a very insensitive question. Like, who'd ask that? Why would you ask that first? And that's when he says, the phrase I have already in my notes that I want him to say is, I swear on my first tail. And then Hilda immediately cuts him off. Like, what? Your first tail? He's like, fuck. I mean, my only tail. I swear on me tail. That's racist. Yes, now answer. And it's again, because the werefoxes were supposed to be the ones that would help with like cities and things like that. That was their original purpose. They just decided, well, technically if we do this, this, and that, we can do... Which, to be fair, is what the Wolverine are also doing. That's why the wolves have now taken the cities as well. They're like, well, we can protect nature if we go in the cities and stop them from doing stupid shit to begin with. But, yeah, that's not originally their domain. That's not where they're supposed to be. Yeah. It's the part of me, what an odd thing to say. I'm sorry, your first tail? Shit. Again, the way the Volpavan work is that they will gain tails. Like I said, their tails grow and that gives them more capabilities that they have. But they grow by contracting with other fox spirits. So, the Volpavan have a really bad habit of they're only really focused on other fox spirits. Whereas all the other shifters can gain little bits and pieces from all of them, including the Wolverine can gain from like a fox spirit as well. right? The um, what is it? The Revorin can gain from fox spirits. The Barovin can gain from it. The Silarovan, the Crodoxin, and the Penioxin can all gain from like fox spirits. But Volpavin really only gain from fox spirits. So they're kind of mischievous. They like doing little games and schemes with each other. You know, try to outfox the fox, basically. So they're too clever for their own good, and they're too mono focused. They're too singularly focused. So as a side effect, they gain more tails, which also again highlights to all the other shifters how trustworthy they are. If it's a fox, if it's a Volpavin that has one or even two tails, they're okay. You know, they're like, okay, fine. You wanted a bit more capabilities, stuff like that. But if they get up to 9 tails, you're like, very much don't trust you. You're a sneaky, conniving little shit, aren't you? You're a little sneaky sneakster. It also kind of reinforces the whole thing with like foxes and wolves don't really get along. Like, cause wolves do all basically the way in the animal kingdom it looks like is that wolves do all the hard work and the foxes come and clean up afterwards. And it's like, snatch away our little food, will you? You little fuck. You little bastard. With your weird screams and cries. Oh, stupid foxes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I want to bring in stuff like banshees and things like that. I'm probably I think I want a banshee to be so this is me spitballing. I've been trying to like coalesce how I want this to work. I kind of want banshees to be associated with the old like the maid of the mariner sort of thing, which was whenever people would go out to sea, a lot of times their wives would wait for them and like perhaps feel loneliness and loss and maybe even get to the point where they lose hope that they're coming back from the sea. So I kind of want banshees to be associated with women that have kind of like committed self delete. Fucking YouTube. Committed self delete from that sort of like depressive melancholy, right? That depressive state of loss, the longing, the missing things. Like they're they're waiting for their loved one to come back. So I want that to have happened, and then the spirit of like the forlorn like loss basically commandeers the body. So it's kind of like but then if they don't wait for him and they do come back sort of thing, you know, that whole like double tragedy of one, or well, technically a triple tragedy, but the woman was waiting for the husband to come home. The husband doesn't come home, so already there's the loss. The woman can't go on, so she ends herself, so there's the next tragedy. And then a spirit wanting to be helpful takes over the body so that the woman can continue to wait, not realizing that the man isn't coming back. Right? So they're kind of wandering, aimless, like not even really alive things. All because the spirit was trying to be helpful. Because if they're thinking if the husband comes back, then he's gonna feel regret and things like that. So that's kind of my little like spitball thing of how I want banshees to work. And again, the banshee's wail being the crying, the sobbing, and things like that from the loss itself. So that's what I think would be pretty good for getting them involved. Probably not, again, not probably going to call them banshees. Probably call them something else. Um, Maybe like maidens or something like that. Or misery. I think misery maidens might be a good name for it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty okay name for it actually. Misery maidens. Or I guess you could do the maidens of misery, but I don't know. I feel like just short and snappy, misery maidens. Oofda. Let's see, and then the shriek could be a way to defend themselves. Yeah, the shriek could be a way for the spirit to defend itself because now it's been given mortal flesh, so it's a lot weaker than it was. It's been grounded basically, well anchored. This would be more accurate, right? So, the shriek could be a way to defend itself. Yeah, let's mark this down. Or spirits that have taken over the body. I need to double check, like to make sure I'm not doing like colloquial definition versus real one. Okay, forlorn was right. All right. Okay, misery maiden, banshee, are spirits that have taken over the body of a woman that has taken their own life due to forlorn loss, waiting for a loved one to return to them. Oftentimes, um, this occurs because the spirit is unaware of why the loved one has yet to return and wishes to be helpful and prevent further tragedy if if let's italicize that, if said loved one should one day make an appearance. This oftentimes traps the spirit within the body itself, which wanders aimlessly due to the spirit's unfamiliar nature with the mundane world, to find the promised loved one. Okay. Misery maidens will often found sobbing and wailing and despair, a byproduct of the spirit having taken such actions to heart as normalized behavior, and will often use the shriek as a method to defend their fleshy gilded cage. Unaware that the destruction of said body would actually set them free. Again, just to add layers onto the tragedy of what a banshee, or like I said, in this case, a misery maiden, would be. So, misery maiden, banshee are spirits that have taken over the body of a woman that has taken their own life due to forlorn loss, waiting for a loved one to return to them. This occurs because the spirit is unaware of why the loved one has yet to return, yet to return, if it is even possible, and wishes to be helpful and prevent further tragedy if said loved one should one day make an appearance. This oftentimes traps the spirit within the body itself, which wanders aimlessly due to the spirit's unfamiliar nature with the mundane world, to find the promised loved one. Misery maidens will often be found sobbing and wailing in despair, a byproduct of the spirit having taken such actions to heart as normalized behavior, and will often use the shriek as a method to defend their fleshy gilded cage, unaware that the destruction of said body would actually set them free. Misery maidens have the unfortunate side effect of bringing grief and strife around them, not through intentional will, but from the constancy of the suffering they are exuding out around them. Yeah. Okay. So basically, again, misfortune and tragedy kind of follows a misery maiden around, not because they intentionally will it. It just happens because they're nearby. Sort of like, if you hear somebody like crying and sobbing and things like that, it gets really hard to keep a cheerful disposition, right? So it just brings down the mood, the vibe, so to speak, right? This one being a spirit that gets kind of dangerous because it makes people more apathetic, makes people more like lethargic. Like just more dangerous stuff happens because people aren't being as attentive as they were before. I think it's a pretty good. It's a pretty good one for adding banshees. So let's put that in. Let's do aura of suffering. Yeah. I think that's a good, that's a good way to keep the whole, like, tragic nature of it. Again, it's a spirit that was intending for good things, but it's a spirit that doesn't know any better, right? It has the same problems that House Vanter has, where their big one is the compulsion to help, where they have to resist that really badly, because they'll jump into God knows what situation without thinking things through because they want to be helpful. That gets into the whole thing of like unintended consequences. That's fucking perfect. Actually, that is perfect. Misery Maiden, yep, you're coming in. I'll have that be one of the things that happens in House of Desires. They have to deal with the Misery Maiden. The first thing in House of Desires is they have to go against a warlock. So warlocks in my setting are kind of D&D like, only in this it's a mage that is contracted with the Hells, right? So if you're a mageling and you contract with the Shifting Hells, you will become classified as a warlock. The necromancer here technically is a warlock. They haven't fully formed a true bond with the shifting hells, but they are working with them. Hence, what the spirit the spirits, the voices and stuff like that have been guiding them and laughing and being weird. Those are obviously demonic entities. So the necromancer in the book Den of the Arctic Wolf is very much on their way to being a warlock. The warlock in House of Desires is what will open the book with the guy who his family is being sacrificed and everything. Not from the guy doing it. The guy is actually struggling. He wants to move, but he can't. Then the big reveal in that, again, this is the opening to the book, is that the guy is just a head sitting on a silver platter. Like he's still alive. He's still alive, massive fucking air quotes, and conscious inside the head. But that's because the warlock's blade made it that way. So he just gets to sit there and listen to all the suffering his family's going through and being unable to do jack and shit about it. Okay. Okay. Let's see, what shall we do? What shall we do now? Now we got through all that. Okay. Oh, let me send this one to Atka real quick. Okay. Update both of them, though, haven't come up with names yet. Still on those. Okay. Yeah, so I guess now let's continue on, because this is when Harkus is as Harkus is basically spending time near the clinic, the emergency clinic that's set up in the morgue. He's going to this is when Alex and all of them will arrive finally at the sheriff's department. The solemnness with which he felt. Solemnity? Hold on. Let's see both of these. Solemnness. Okay, and then let's check solemnity. I want to see which one's which. Oh, it's just because solemnity is more modern and more recognized. Well, fuck that. I don't give a shit. Okay. So I'll ignore that suggestion there. Ignore. The solemnness with which he felt lent weight to his feet and caused him to linger far longer near the suffering than he would have liked. Such things couldn't be helped, for he was a dwarf of worry. As I can show you guys this one as we go through the process. Worry and thus feared that moving with haste would give the children a wrong impression. Such were these silly fancies within him, that he concerned himself. A little boy and girl suffering would pay special heed. In business. He certainly, to admit, was times, and thus turned all right. Okay, I gotta do this because I remember to put his accent in. I already went back through and changed the dialogue from the clarity one we had when we were going through quickly. I already changed it back to his accent properly. There's the pair. Oh. And in Abiotic Factor, I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's fun because you know immediately, like it's a fun mechanic. I like the whole thing. No, the folklore one. I don't know the folklore of it. I don't know the folklore of it at all. I just like the Abiotic Factor entity. It's fun. I keep want to call him the Kraus. No, it's my own fault. Instead of the Krasu. Did not. This attempt. Whoops. Too many F's. Boop. Yep. So comforted. In his own. To avoid awkwardness. He had bumbled right and being the direct cause of it now. On the flip side, several deputies New convoy. And guide. It's the ramp. Okay. Thai vampire, floating woman's head, using its organs to puppeteer a dead body from the inside. Ooh, nasty. Nasty, but interesting. I will say that. Nasty, but interesting. Okay. I don't know where to best put this. Three. First time. So proper. Wow. Busy. Oh. Much emptier. All right. I'm a lot more self-conscious now. I'm trying to type out while you guys can see. Oh yeah, I used Miller, by the way. I used Miller to jump between the sections, so this brought me all the way back to talking about Dr. Andrews and everything. And then whoop, all the way back down to here. Fun thing to do, especially to do like a subtle callback to something that happened earlier, right? Yeah, you know what? I'm too self-conscious now. We're 143 pages. We're going to be 144, as you can see, as you could see, we were at the bottom of this page. Let's give her the first ellipses. Put in that. Keep the second one because I want it to be the pause. My biggest weakness as a writer is scene transitions and pacing. That just comes with like practice, right? Just keep practicing at it over and over again. You'll eventually get there. What does that make? You're used to seeing the town under siege. Instead, not vehicles and their trailers pulled down into the underground lot. Or parked near the staircase, leading in. Inside the bunker. Okay. Okay. Right. So now we've got Alex and the convoy. So we have Hilda Whitman, Eric Whitman, and their three sons. They're in the 4x4 with the trailer. We have Alex Reed, Victoria Vink, David, and Richard, who are in the pickup truck with their trailer and are pulling in as well. So we've got both of them. They've got a bunch of supplies with them. The altar to Maraxis is in one of the trailers. Victoria's got her bag by her feet. Other supplies are inside the crew cab with David and Richard in the back seat. Okay, so I want to go to. We're going to have the Wolf Bloods are going to help them get everything set up, and they're going to put the altar. They're going to take the altar and they're going to put it in a. I'll have them put it in the first floor bunkhouses. No. That would make sense because that would have been the offices and everything. No, let's move it to. Because now they've opened up all 4 floors. I'll have them put it in the 4th floor. They'll put the altar down the 4th floor. Because I'm going to have Harkus is basically going to take note of like all of them coming by. This gets him distracted, and he's going to follow them down to watch them all put the altar in. Basically confirms to him like all these people are like wolf afflicted. They're going to offer their prayers to the altar. Harkus will dip out at that point, like reaffirming that, he just needs to survive this. He'll go to the bar, which is what will prompt Connor to follow him. Connor will have found a weapon. He's already done his sabotage. Connor will follow him to the bar, which is where he will shoot Harkus in the back with a shotgun. Before he basically makes his getaway. Let's see. Everybody should be in position at that point. The prayer will have ended by that point. Everyone will be scattered back. See, the Goofy will first offer, once they go back up the staircase, the morgue is on the 2nd floor. 2nd floor down, by the way. Because again, it's a bunker. So, 1st floor, the top floor is where the, sheriff's office is, the deputies', workspaces and stuff like that, the reception area, and like that. 2nd floor had the morgue, the mess hall, the shooting range, and the 1st bunkhouse. Obviously, there are lots of facilities for waste management. Remember, this was a command bunker that was set up to man the coastal gun emplacements. So it had to have housing or comfortable access for a regiment to be inside the bunker in case of shelling, counterattacks, things like that. So it was a fallback position for the defense of this coastline. And the town sprung up around it. Okay, yeah. So people outside who are on their little like things to gather up resources now, because we already mentioned that there's a bunch of people now forming basically like worry gangs and stuff, or not worry gangs. People forming like little scavenger groups. They hear the gunshot from the bar. They see Connor running out of the bar with the shotgun. People put two and two together because they know Connor hates Harkis that much. So they go to investigate. They see Harkis is bleeding to death inside the bar. This then prompts them to go get the deputies and everything. As some people try to stick with them, the deputies run and get the sheriff. That will be the Goothy. So the Goothy will have been up towards the morgue, wanting to help when the sheriff and everything gets informed that Harkis has been shot, and fingers are being pointed at Connor. Connor has fled. The Goothy then goes with the group to go get Harkis. And then this is when the sabotage to the generator will be found, because that's when the antifreeze will go into the generator and damage it. So poor old Betty will be sputtering and things like that. The power will go off inside the sheriff's department. Okay. Yeah, I'm putting together the series of events for the end of the chapter. Will be the power goes out inside the bunker. That'll be the end point for the chapter. But good news is the Goothy is going to come in as the MVP, because he's going to save Harkis through his channeling of the spirit magics to heal him. And then he's going to have to immediately get rushed back over to work on the generator. Again, nobody would expect it, but he can separate out the materials again using his connection with the spirits. He can separate out the antifreeze from the gas and get the system functional again. They just have to hand crank it a few times to get the antifreeze. Like, they have to get all of the bad fuel out of the lines itself. You can't just put gasoline in a tank. Once antifreeze has gone through and it doesn't combust, so it doesn't compress, and causes the pistons to basically go nope. You can't just put gasoline in it to then clear that out. You need to actually clear out all of that fluid and everything first. So they're going to have to crank it by hand to get the pistons to keep moving, because there's no combustion that's causing it, and draining out all of that fluid. But the Goothy can use his connection to get the antifreeze out of the remaining gas canisters, so they can put all fresh gasoline in that hasn't been contaminated. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I got an idea for a name for the Wendigo. Hold on. Like 3 or 4 names for each. For the Wendigo, thinking Skinwalker, easy. Flesh Eater. And Carnos. Yeah, I think having that as the, because I want 3 or 4 names for each, because different perspectives, people have different perspectives, different ideas on each thing. You know, there'd be like a shared commonality between them of how it functions, because there is an actual like logical function to it. So the function in and of itself would not change, but names would change depending on the viewpoint person. Like the elves would call it something different, the dwarves would call it something different, and so on and so forth. I think in Rosentia, I'm going to have Skinwalker. That's pretty easy for a Wendigo, changing the name of it while being something that another culture would obviously come up with. Skinwalker, Flesh Eater, and I think Carnos sounds good. You know, kind of like Carnivore, or maybe Carnis. What do you think? Carnos or Carnis? Carnos or Carnis? Because it kind of incorporates carnivore into it. I think Os might be better, personally. I think that just sounds better. Like when somebody says what you're going up against, a Carnos would be like, you know, that just sounds like something dangerous, right? Guess we're Grim. Yeah, I gotta still think on Grims too. Oh, here, and before I forget, let me send him just to show him. So let's do that. Okay. What are you fighting? Meat. What are we up against? A Carnos. Yeah, that just sounds good. A Carnos. Misery Maiden again works for Banshee. Grims though. I want to change Grims as well. Again, it's a play on the whole church Grim thing. what about what about a Gravehound? I think that'd be a good like thing that somebody would come up with. Like if you hear like it's a canine spirit that merges with like a graveyard keeper, a mortician, a grave tender, sort of thing, and they're all about like safeguarding dead like bodies and things. Yeah, it's a play on that folklore. So it's not doing. It's they're not like church grims in particular. As we already did. Again, you're pretty late, Baron, but we already talked through it. Grims are people that have made mutual contract with canine spirits that safeguard the sanctity of graveyards, cemeteries, and burial sites. These are most often, though some rare exceptions occur, with graveyard keepers, groundskeepers of cemeteries, and morticians. Those who often work with the dead and hold a keen sense of sanctity and respect for the dead and their remains, while also expressing thoughts of helplessness or powerfulness or powerlessness. The Grim will make contact and form a bond with the affected individual, eventually merging the two as one being, giving the newly bonded person greater strength, olfactory senses, agility, and regenerative capabilities, though no shape changing, nor are their abilities, while heightened, on par with even a Speya. I just said Gravehound to myself while assembling a Star Wars clone ARC Trooper. Yeah, I think Gravehound would work for Grim instead. Or even a Crypt Hound. I think those could be like interchangeable, like stuff that's associated with grave, like funeral, things like that. I think that would all work as like that with hound as the suffix. So a grave hound, a crypt hound, burial hounds, things like that. I think those would all work in place of grim. I think that would work. I think that works well. Let's do that. So let me put in the thing. Gravehound, Crypthound. Yeah. Well, it would be fun what we would come up with, right? Like I think that would be fun to be like, that could be the differing thing, like where they come from would like indicate what they were. Barrel Hound, etc. for Grim, and then let's do Skinwalker again. That's an easy one. Flesh Eater, Carnos for Wendigo. It'd just probably be Barrow. It'd just be Barrow Hound at that point. It wouldn't be Barrow Beast. Again, these are also on the whole thing like this would be the whole thing of depending on what location you were, and you'd have to know that the person contracted anyways, because they won't give off like a special scent. It was a spirit that's basically bonded to them. So this will be the sheriff and everyone will discover that the graveyard keeper for the town for Point Crescent is actually one of these creatures. So I'll probably have the sheriff just call him a grave hound. And they'll just kind of all accept that. Like, you're a fucking grave hound? Like, so not only were you part of the Black Order, but or the Blackguard, but you're also a fucking grave hound? Fucking okay. Like I'm gonna turn away anything. And then Victoria can be the audience asking the obvious question of like, what the hell's a grave hound? They're like, it's yeah, and I don't want to go into like a full textbook thing, but like, basically it's a canine spirit that's bonded to a human to protect grave sites. That's a good thing. No, Baron, that's entirely the point. It being generic is the point. You want that. People have this stupid thing where it has to be super fanciful. No, you don't want that. Normal people are going to come up with a thing on a term. No, a normal person is going to be like, they're going to see something for the first time and be like, that's the Azagalak. Like, what? What the fuck does that mean? It's like they're going to come up with what it would fit with more. It's like, these are canine spirits that work with things like morticians, graveyard keepers, groundskeepers at cemeteries, things like that. They're going to like be associated with that ground. So a fucking gravehound works. Again, Baron, it just came on in Celti's even in Twitch with you, and I already agreed with them. Like, yeah, we'll have it be based off of where they're found. If you find them that like they deal with a bunch of mausoleums, a bunch of tombs and things like that, that would work. Be like, okay, a tomb hound, because there's lots of tombs here instead. You have mausoleums, burial sites, barrows. We already did that. The worst thing you can possibly do as a writer and creator of any fiction is the Planet of Hats, where every single person will call it the exact thing it is. Right? It's why I've had it be like, the dwarf here, he's a totally outsider perspective. He calls them wolf afflicted. In China and Mongolia, they just call them dogs. They say they call them food. A more unique name would be Catacomb Bitzer. But no, again, the worst thing, the stuff that always knocks me out of fiction is when every single person across the planet knows the exact scientific name of a thing, instead of having multiple things. That's why I want 3 or 4 different names for a thing. It's why the Wendigo here is being called the Skinwalker, the Flesh Eater, and the Carnos. They're all different names for the same thing. They all mean the same thing. They all are talking about the same thing, but they're different names because they come from different perspectives. So, same thing here we have for the Grim. I've already got it set in the Discord. A Gravehound, a Crypt Hound, a Burial Hound, etc. for Grim. Oh, they call the normal dogs food. Oh, you know what I was getting at? Yeah, it's one thing if you have like a scholarly, knowledgeable person that says it. When normal folk start saying it, like, oh, that's a this exact thing, right? What's a good way to put it? What was the name? Gwaili, I think is the name. Like, if they're called Gwaili in one continent, and then you go to another continent with a totally different language and different culture and everything like that, and they also still call them a Gwaili. It's like, why? Why do they do that? They would have a genericized version for them. It's the same thing with like what do they call cannibals in like Old Norse? They're called Mane Etere, which are man-eaters. It's literally just man-eater. Unless it's its own name like a Pokemon, they'd have wildly different names. Exactly. Remember, same thing we talked about with the Sword of Severus. The Sword of Severus is known by many, many different names. Because, again, not everybody's going to call it the Sword of Severus. It's going to be based on their perspective. What do you see? Well, it's a sword that has a serpent on it that is being devoured by a dragon-headed guard. So, a lot of people call it the dragon sword, the gold dragon sword, the serpent devouring sword, the serpent eater. Like, there's all different kinds of names for it because it's different perspectives. Yeah, so again, just basically giving the feeling like grave hound, crypt hound, burial hound, everything like that. Like, it doesn't matter if somebody were to run up to John and say like it's a barrow hound, he'd be like, yeah, grave hound. We're talking about the same thing. We know what you're talking about. It's just he just has a different name for it. Yeah. Okay. So got that pretty squared away for those. I'm still in a dream, snake eater. The longest ladder in existence, snake eater. Again, that's fine. What do you think of calling magic the glimmer? That's fine. Again, the shifters in here, as John and Alex and William and a bunch of the fucking werewolves have said, they're called different things. Like some call them shifters, some call them shifters, some call them shimmers, some call them ripples. Um, and again, it's just based off perspective, right? Some say he's still climbing that ladder even today. My favorite part was, "Hey Zeus, here's toast." Um, he was a big Bloodborne runner, and there's ladders, and his thing he would do, like whenever like a GDQ or Awesome Games Done Quick or anything like that, was he'd be like, "Oh, here we come to my favorite ladder. This is the longest ladder in the game. Look at this ladder." It's just a fun bit of like levity added to the situation. Oh, they've only got the runs and everything. They've only got the full runs. Hey Zeus, here's toast. Whenever you'd be at like AGDQ and stuff like that, he'd be like, "And we're coming up to a ladder. Everybody get excited." But it's just the full runs. Nobody has like a clip of him doing his little ladder spiel. I am a worm in human skin. Ugh. Ew. 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 Okay. I haven't watched the new episode, by the way, Duncan, so I haven't seen the O'Tully's episode yet. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I meant to watch it after the stream, and then just so much stuff came up. So yeah, haven't seen anything yet. Okay. All right, I'm going to go and prep some food for lunch. So I'm going to throw in some chimkin in the air fryer. I will be right back. BRB. All right, I'm back. The irony of a computer freezing up on the speedrunning page. Yeah. All right. Also, the unique thing about magic in my book is that it's not very predictable. When you use magic, you need to be born with it, be exposed to it, or ask a higher being to share it with you. You can't just read a book and learn to throw fireballs. I guess I need to know what you mean by not very predictable. Magic in my book kind of works like a kind of radiation, so it can cause mutations. For example, there is a witch in my book that has pig-like features. Again, I don't like. This is me personally. I don't like magic systems that are too random, because then the author can just do a bunch of bullshit, and they just wave their hands like it's magic, because there's no. You can't really have stakes if you don't understand how the system works and know like what thwarts what. That's why I like more structured magic, where magic in my settings is more of a science than an art. The art comes in through how you utilize the science of it. It's this whole thing of like, to make it a very watered down saying, let's just use fireball, right? If you want to throw a fireball, you need to understand exactly the mechanical methodology to shape the fire into your palm to then throw it to then have it explode, right? You need to know these steps in order to unify your mind and will into one, into purpose, to make sure that you carry out those steps. You can ritual cast it. You can use somatic parts. You can use material to sacrifice to it. Again, these are all things you can do to make it safer to use. You don't have to. The more skilled you are, you can start removing these ideas of needing a verbal component, to needing a sacrificial bit to it. You can internalize that as you become stronger and grow stronger in the magic itself. The will in and of itself is all that is actually necessary to do it. You can just do hand motions and gestures and things like that to basically make it safer for you, right? Actually, magic works that way in my book to limit the number of magic users. If the use of magic can have severe side effects, there would be only a handful of people that are brave enough to use it. Oh, mine's just the natural danger of backlash. If your willpower falters, if you have concentration broken, it's not just a simple, like, oh, your spell fizzled sort of thing. No, no, no. The magic needs to go somewhere, and it's going to go back into what caused it, the source of it. That's how magic works in my setting. You don't just have a spell fizzles out, you have backlash. And the danger of backlash is what causes our mageling. We talked about him the other day. Our mageling that works for Everglade, who was like, yeah, but a microwave is easier. Like, I could use magic to heat up my meal quickly and eat and enjoy my meal, but I can just stick it in a microwave. It's safe. I don't have to worry about it or anything like that. Like, learning magic is hard. Like, I could flick my thumb and have a flame come at the end of it and light my cigarettes and things like that, but I could just use a lighter as well. Sure, the magic is free, but there's a risk that I'm going to get the backlash from it, and that fire is going to go through my thumb and give me first degree burns at minimum. So again, he's very much the conveniences of modern technology have made magic less desirable for me to learn because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I don't want to learn it. Remember, even the mageling here or the necromancer here in Den of the Arctic Wolf, she's suffering some pretty heavy like headaches and things because she has to split her consciousness if she wants to make more intelligent like minions, like minions that like do more than just one task of like go forward, kill. If she wants them to have like, I want you to use your shield to block and things like that, she needs to dedicate her own willpower to that, her own intelligence, her own psyche. It's very taxing to do necromancy in that way. If you want a lot of like higher tier necromantic things. If you just want cannon fodder, that's a lot easier to do. You just give it animation and then give it purpose. And like, go that way, kill whatever that way. But mind, you also have to be born with magic. Now, you can get around this by forming contracts with spirits. Wow, I fucked that. You can form contracts with spirits. This is where the idea of shamans, druids, and wardens come into play, right? Where shamans are the spirits of ancestors that they contract with. Druids are the spirits of animals, and wardens are the spirits of like the flora. They're the spirits of trees, grass, wind, that sort of thing. Now, that's the thing. Victoria asks, so like, so she could do it, and the big drawback to this is like, because when you're doing spirit magics, you're using the spirit as the channel of the magic itself. So you're kind of like borrowing the spirit, so to speak. It's kind of the way the Wolverine work, in that the werewolves and all the other shifters can use magic, but it's through the conduit of spirits. That's why it's gift. The spirit is gifting them the capability to do this. Now, the shifters can do it as in they internalize the spiritual energy itself, whereas a warden, a druid, a shaman has to actually have the spirit present in order to do the thing. And also, that also means, like, the spirits have to reveal themselves to you first. Victoria actually is is ahead of the curve in this, in that Vingalik and his forces expose themselves to her. So, there are spirits that are willing to show themselves, so she could become a shaman, a druid, or a warden if she so chose to. But there'd be a lot of studying and a lot of contracting with the spirits. And the studying isn't just to do the magic itself. The studying would be mostly to how do you conduct yourself with each spirit, because each spirit is individualistic. And also, again, as Alex and the Goothy David point out, objects can gain spirits as well. Warden, I speak for the trees, and unfortunately for you, they're speaking Vietnamese. Yeah, kind of. Oh! Hang on a second. Got a weird pressure buildup in my right ear. It's doing that thing where you hear like cracklies and stuff. Like there's a liquid. Oh, do not like that feeling. Do not like the feeling at all. Oh, hang on, maybe if I yawn. Ugh. Oh my goodness. It's more crackly than it was before. I've thwarted myself. I've made it worse. Anyways. Yeah, so that's a downside of doing the spirit contracts thing. It's also how normal people can become cultists, because demons can offer the same thing. So you can become a cultist in that way. You're channeling the capabilities through the demonic entity itself. Congratulations, you played yourself. Yeah, entirely. 100%. Also, magic in my book can't just do anything. For example, there are no resurrection spells in my setting. Bring back the dead, like in Supernatural, is a thing only a handful of higher beings could do. And even if you manage to find one of these beings, they would most likely refuse to do it. Yeah, in mine you can do resurrection. But here's the thing. If you're doing resurrection, like pulling the soul back to the mortal plane, that actually takes your life force with it. And Meraxas got lucky when he wasn't a divine being, in that he has the life force of a dragon. So he got lucky in that regard, but it nearly killed him anyways. It put him into a coma. It was very not good. Then you had the other difference is if you soul bond the soul to the body, which is how you can make liches, by the way. Again, unintended consequence. But if you soul bond it to the body, you then can do reconstructive and healing magics instead of resurrection magics to bring it back. But soul bonding is very fucking dangerous, though. Very fucking dangerous. That is a backlash you do not want to experience. That is a backlash that, well, that Control-Alt deletes your ass out of existence. You basically bring up the task manager and you are going bye-bye. And you're not going bye-bye quietly either. Again, the other aspect of resurrection magic is that it can only be done by dragons. They're the only ones that can use contradictory magics, and resurrection requires all 8 of the base schools to actually function. So you have to be able to do all 8 of the base schools. So the 4 primaries and their 4 contradictories at the same time. Which would be very lethal to anyone else trying to do it. Contradictory magics is not good. We've talked about it before, like somebody channeling fire and water magic at the same time. Very bad day. It's causing a steam explosion in their body and kills them instantly. Oh, here, the cycle of life and death is much more fluid, but that can cause problems. Hence why the Wolverine and the other shifters are the guardians of nature, the spirits, and the natural order of things. But there is a life after death, in a sense that the afterlife is not a static stasis thing. It is an existence that can change, has its own weathers and everything. It basically is almost like another world, just on a higher plane. As Meraxis puts it, eternity would get so incredibly dull. So he has the higher planes are much more like interactive towards other planes. So you can have a life in this other plane here. There just aren't things like disease and things like that. But there are weather patterns. There are different areas you can actually go exploring and things like that. But there are dangers out there too. So, again, that's part of the consequence of having all this. There are dangers in the afterlife as well. Part of that is the Grand Wars. So, you know. Again, best of intentions, unexpected consequences, but part of the whole thing is how you deal with those unexpected consequences is the showcase of your character. And Meraxis is not one to shy away from the consequences of his actions. He takes it on the chin and is like, well, this is what it means to be who I am. I'm going to... Like when it came to giving the Wolverine the gift of wrath, and then it turns out, or gave it to Sidoris, then it turns out he gave it to all the Wolverine, and they now all have the original sin of wrath. And he's like, no, that I will not allow. So he'll take that on himself, and basically like safeguard them from it. Again, that was the consequence. He could have easily just said, oh well, I'll just wipe out the Wolverine and we'll start again, and I won't give him it, and start over, which is what Severus offers him. Like, he's like, I could fix this immediately, you know. And he's just like, nah, I'm not letting you wipe out all of the fucking Wolverine just to fix this. Or my foot acting up on me now. There we go. Had a bad nail. Bad nail on my foot. Had to chip away at it. Now we're gonna refine it and hone it down with the sandpapers. There we go. That is the original way the afterlife worked before Meraxis and like forced an order to things and made more of the divine realms more interconnected, and then made the spirit realms and everything. Originally, your afterlife was dictated by the god you worshipped. Then Meraxis made the divine court and everything, made it much more like an Eastern religion where all of the gods are more interconnected with each other. The spirit realm came into existence and the idea of spirits. And again, that was all Meraxis is doing. So now there is a more unified afterlife, but you can go like visit the domains of other gods. They'll have their own personal like estates and grounds and things like that. You can actually go. You can go visit the divine court itself if you so wish. Like all of these things are interconnected. And all of the gods, especially the gods from Averil, are connected through all the different multiverses as well. Which is, unfortunately, again, as a side effect and consequence, that means the shifting hells can reach out into the multiverse and get its hooks and claws into different places. Remember, originally Saren was a dark island in a dark sea, and every now and then a demonic entity would wash ashore just from random happen chance of following the currents. Like, that was his analogy for how Saren was. Then the shield was shattered by William, who awakened as an actual heir to the throne of wrath, an heir to the throne of hatred. He shattered the shield, and now it's basically like somebody erected a lighthouse on the dark island in the dark sea. So now the hells know exactly where it is. He just got lucky. He was preparing for it, so they've severed the connection before the hells can make a direct connection. So they can't, like, immediately just spring up there within Saren itself. They have to make the journey across. But they know exactly where it is now. There's no guesswork anymore. They know, like, go exactly here and you'll hit it every time. Basically, a map has now been made. But, whereas before it would have been a full fucking bridge and they could have just walked across into it immediately. They could have basically just opened a door in the Shifting Hells and been at Saren itself. And again, part of the ending of the book in Guardians of Nature is hearing the call of Saren's afterlife, preparing the defenses to hold the brunt for the new Grand War that has started. Later on, in not a series connected to Saren, but a series connected to another world, which is where the Wood Kid song "Run Boy Run" kept coming to my head. There is a world that has been devastated by the Grand War. The demonic has made landfall. The world is basically fucked. It's a post-apocalypse. But a Guthi is tasked with carrying a package all the way from a fortified vault to get like halfway across the world to what's considered the last stand of the planet, which is the World Tree itself. She's going to face a lot of fucking hardships and terror to get there. She'll eventually make it, because again, that's just... Going into the story, you kind of know what's going to happen, that the person's going to make it to the destination, right? You kind of know that up front, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, she's going to face some pretty terrible things, right? But at that moment in it, at the end, there's a moment here I want to highlight in it. Um, Again, it'll get claimed here in a second. But this kind of ending part for the song is what I want to emphasize. Because the way I have it in my head is that she sees the tree looming in the distance. She can see all the shapes flying around it and everything, which are the dragons that are helping to safeguard it. She comes through the blasted like trees and forests and rotted lands and everything, and she comes up to a front line of trenches who like realize like, oh my god, like you made it. You made it with the package that's needed, the like thing that has all the hopes and everything of the world channeled into it. She brought it to the world tree. And so the ending part here in it, oh god, I'm getting a bit emotional. This part, right, is like her running the last few miles, and each new build up, new instruments joining in is like new people she's passing, those like that are working the fields, those that are like the hospitals, the other shifters that have been waiting for her. The dragons show up and see that she's coming to the like all flying formation that they guide her in. Oh my god. I gotta pause it. But eventually that last basically gasp of bringing it in to the world tree itself. And, kneels down and offers the package up to, yes! She dies. She dies at the very end. She offers the package, and once Meraxes takes it, and she's now finally, like, it's over. The journey, she went thousands of miles, racing across the Deadlands to get here. She gets it, she gives the package over, Meraxes takes it, and now that her body, she's finally like, I can finally rest. It's over. Like, the struggle, everything that got here, she dies. She falls over and dies. That was her. That was her last gasp. I just got to get it across the finish line. That's all she was thinking at the end. Yeah. She becomes the Prime Guthi. So there are different primes, like Sidoris is the Prime Wrecker. William Lowell, aka Strithelfer, is the Prime Yalder Skald. I don't want to reveal who the Prime Damari is, because we're going to talk about that. But the saying, Justice is blind, is appropriate. And then she becomes the Prime Guthi, and then later on in the timeline, there will be the Prime Speya who will come after her. And then the 5 Primes will be an important key factor in ending the Grand War. Basically, it's a ritual. Think of it as a ritual spell that has been hundreds of thousands of years in the crafting to basically end the Grand War conflict once and for all. Yeah. And it's definitely going to be a bittersweet ending for that book. Like, very, very much a bittersweet ending. Because you're going to be entirely focused from her, going from situation to situation, watching the hopelessness of the world, the people that still choose to hold on anyways. But she makes it to the finish line. And she kneels down, offers the package, and then her body just doesn't have the energy to get back up. And by the way, when she gets there to the world tree, it's not like a beautiful paradise thing. She can see that they're suffering from malnourishment and everything like that. They don't have the variety of crops they need. So they're suffering malnourishment. There are people that are bruised and everything like that. A bunch of the other shifters that are there, they're like, they've got wounds. Some are missing limbs and things. It's not going well. Even the dragons in the sky, a lot of them are like, some of their hands are all ragged and stuff like that. Some of their wings are torn, so they're not flying as fast. Like, some are missing eyes and things. It's been a struggle here at the last stand. Like, it has been a bitter and terrible fight for who knows how long after the demons have descended on this world. But then the package is revealed again. It's hinted at very heavily throughout, but the big package is going to be it. The fortified vault that she came from was a seed vault. And the package she brought with her was thousands of different types of seeds for different types of foods, different types of vegetables and fruits and things like that, which the Goothy at the World Tree will be able to weave and have grow quickly. That's what they needed. They needed actual nourishment. They needed the actual vitamins and everything like that to carry on, to survive. And through this, the World Tree will be able to spread its influence, a little bit at a time, until eventually, 50 years after her run, there are people that are now, like, imitating the run, right? They've reclaimed a lot of the world that was, and there's now, like, it's more like a yearly, like, ceremony thing, like the run of the seeds. I made myself all sad. But also fits in with that whole idea of, as Meraxis says, when he finally beats Severus at a game of chess, Severus has to win every single game of chess. Meraxis only needs to win once. This is the flip side of that. Meraxis needs to win every single Grand War. The Shifting Hells only need to win once. If they win once, that's another festering wound that now has to be sealed by some other one. That's another place that they can reach out from. This was a planet that was super close to being a loss, and it ends up being a victory in the end. The planet's able to basically cast off the shackle. It's through a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifice. There's going to be a lot of people. If you go into that book, which again, I'm saying this early because this is going to be a book that's way down the list. We're getting into when we're working with the primes and everything. Don't get attached to a lot of people in the book, or you're really going to hurt. It is going to be a misery farm, to put it mildly. It's going to be bad. There's going to be a lot of suffering all throughout. But that's kind of the point, with the end being upbeat and hopeful. It's that much brighter because the journey was that dark. Oh, God. Made myself all fucking sad now. I'm gonna go get my food. But while I go get my food, have fun with this. to sign off. It's a very short and very bittersweet song, to say the least.
Tell me what the rain knows. Who are these, the tears of ages? Wash away the warmth away, and leave not a trace of the day.
All right, I'm back. Okay. I've got my chimkin sandwiches out of the air fryer. I'm going to eat them. I'm going to eat them. So, while we're eating them... Oh god, that might be a bad idea for No Tully's episode. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, oh, there's a new CV11 episode out. I want to watch it so bad. Can't. Can't. Can't do it. This will just hang out for a bit. Let me actually eat my food. Let me actually eat my noms. Tasty. Let's see. That's some other stuff we could talk about. Talked about Gotcha Yakuta. Talked about oh, I didn't talk about Teen Wolf. Yeah, so like I said, I've been watching Teen Wolf. Just to get a thing. It is super teen drama for sure. Like, man, oh man, it is a ride to be sure. But it's weird they don't have like everybody's kind of like the man wolf thing, like all the time when they change. It's very eh eh it works. Probably none of them have gone beast form yet. For some of these fights are life and death fights, and they don't go beast form. It's like, why? Why? Why not? I mean, I know why. Show budget, but still, like, why? Just go beast form, damn it! Just beast form it. Wait. What if a modern destroyer fought the Spanish Armada? Well, that's fucking easy. Modern destroyer wins. Wins handily, too. Like, again, not just for, like, the obvious thing of technology. Like, that's a given. But, like, engagement range. I guess, again, technology. Right? Technology. Technology is that's like a total fucking one-sided battle. I can engage you from over 15 miles away. I'm faster than you. I can engage you from further out. I can engage you more accurately. Like, hmm. Chimkin. Well, you shouldn't need to worry about that. You have a lot of ammo. Let's see how much. Okay, so let's look at our destroyers. No, I don't want the Zumwalt. Nah, not the Zumwalt. Let's do. Okay. Let's see. Armaments. These are built in 1991 to present. It is the Arleigh Burke class destroyer. Install power, displacements, blah, 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 blah. Electronic warfare, again, not useful for discussing here. DDG 51 to 80, 5-inch gun. A DDG 81 onward, 5-inch gun. The Phalanx, CIWS. Oh my god, could you imagine a Phalanx? Could you imagine a CIWS? against them, just dead. Fucking dead. 225 mil autocannons, 4 12.7 AK 50 50-inch, so 50 cal guns. Cancel launch anti-ship missiles, 1 and 2 only. But if we do the more modern one, they get 4 naval strike missiles. They have 90 Mark 41 vertical launch system missiles. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter about the amount of ammunition they've got. They're not surviving. Holy shit. They're not surviving. You have 90 confirmed kills, 1 missile each against the Spanish. Like, they have 137 ships versus 1. 90 of those ships are immediately dead from the missile cells. Like, those would just blow out the entire, like, beam of the ship. Let alone if it hits the fucking magazine. Like, oh my god, it's gone. They have Mark 32, so 6 torpedoes ready to go with however many reloads. It doesn't matter at that point. High energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance. Oh my god. Oh, correction. They could have a 96 cell. Okay. We'll go with 90. So 90 of those ships are already done, so. And then you have all of your rest of your munitions left over after that. So assume 90 of them donezo from the missiles. 6 more donezo from the torpedoes. Calling it a dazzler so silly. Well, remember, camouflage on ships was the dazzle camo for the longest time. Even World War II, still dazzle camo. Because you're trying to confuse optic sights. Oh, I forgot. They also carry aircraft, so that could be fun. They carry helicopters. Fucking play Ride of the Valkyries as you go over and drop shit on them. Hmm. Morning, Rapper. I'm just eating my chimkin sandwiches. And we're just talking. Basically, like, running the clock out, basically. You must have discussions on bringing the Wendigo into the setting, Church Grims into the setting, and Banshees. So they've all been, we've got them all laid out now. I made some changes, so if you'll see in the Discord, the changes have been made in the literature and writing channel. Ugh. We've already done that's what a Grim is, basically. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the black shuck is a grim, a church grim. Here in mine, we just the colloquial terms for them are going to be like grave hounds, tomb hounds, barrow hounds, things like that, depending on where they're found, right? It's essentially a one of these spirits merging with a graveyard keeper and things like that, giving them making them a bit more like human plus. They can't hold a candle to the werewolves or anything like that, but they can, they have a bit more regenerative capabilities. They won't like regenerate limbs or anything, but they're a little bit more durable. They're a little bit tougher. They're a little faster, a little stronger, and they can smell better. They got better olfactory senses. So it's just a mutually beneficial contract. They contract with people that basically show a sanctity of life, right? I don't like. I hate the man-faced creature things. I think intentionally so. I think they're not supposed to be things that are like, I'd say it's stuff like horses that have a man's head instead, or a chicken with a man's head. It's just like, ew, ew, gross. Just like, ugh. Very, very just nasty. Being of nasty, I dropped some applesauce on my foot. So I just wiped that off. I'm like, ugh. Ew, gross. Blech. Blech. Like the OG Sphinx, yeah. At least the OG Sphinx, like, that's probably the best man-headed animal I've ever seen, right? You know what, Wikipedia, you should be sold. You'll probably be less fucking biased that way. Bunch of jackasses. Ew. Creepy. Do you remember what it was called, Ropar? We actually talked about Gachi Akuda today, and that final episode was great. Again, the big reveal of Rudo's last name was amazing. You know what? You know what? Anti-Boy Scout? I will. We're not going to call them chupacabras, though. But I will, right? I'll put it in, and we'll have it be. It's one of the experiments of like a pet thing that that one of the vampires made, right? That could be interesting. Like it's a pet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. And it won't be. It'll be like a. It's a not vampire thing. Like it's still alive. So it just has the ability that it mostly feeds on drinking blood and gets its nutrients and everything that way. That could be like an interesting like twist on it. And so now it's carried that gene because it's obviously because it got loose, it is now intermixed. So now it's just like, oh fuck, like they created a monster. God damn it! Rosentia normally doesn't have this many monsters. Oh my goodness sakes! That'd be fun. Again, it would highlight the like. Remember, in my setting, the ghouls like that. They're much more like Blade. I hate that Blade called them familiars first. It's like, oh man, that's so fucking fitting for like a familiar is a very intertied concept towards mages and wizards and things like that. Like a wizard's familiar is very important in a lot of settings. So I was gonna have the ghouls be called familiars, and then Blade did it, and I was like, fuck it, it's too good of a fit. I'm doing it anyways. Not even just trying to fuck up the ecosystem, just being like, he just wanted a pet. And he got bored and just did it. King Spook are the rattlesnake coyote hybrids in Fallout. Had a Pathfinder investigator class character who had a fox familiar. Yep. And familiar. The term is just too good. So I don't care that Blade maybe did it first, or maybe they're not the ones that did it first, but uh, a human that works for vampires being called a familiar is too good. Too good. So we're doing that. It's way too fitting for. Remember, all the vampires in my setting they originally come from mages. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, chat. All right. Okay, chat. I think we've wound down to this. Like I said, it's going to be a really short week. Tomorrow we'll probably just do another hangout and just play some random games, some goms. Maybe get some. Maybe let's do some multiplayer games or some co-op games or something. You know. Kind of little co-op-y games do I have that we could get like a bunch of people to just be silly? Yeah. I think of it. Maybe we'll just do Marvel Rivals because it's free to play, and we'll just like do zombies and just some matches where it's like 5 of us or something. I don't know. We'll think of something. We'll just have ourselves some fun little game times. Although I do want to show off like a really bad simulator game that feels like it's on the cusp of being something that's good, and it's just like, oh man, they botched it. They botched it real bad. Yeah. Anyways, chat. Boop. Hope you guys take care. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe and healthy. Get fit, get ripped. And I will see you back here tomorrow. Remember, there'll be no stream on Wednesday. We'll be watching our Christmas movie Wednesday. And no stream on Crimbus, because it's Crimbus. So, yeah, no stream then. And then we'll be back on Friday. Yeah. Short week. Intermixed week. Wednesday should be good. And I highly recommend coming to the Wednesday movie. It's going to be an At Everyone ping. It is a very good Christmas movie. It's called Joy of Noel. And, you know what? Right before we go, it has a bunch of random stuff with it. Okay, here we go. We're gonna do the trailer. One of the trailers. Before we go.
You are the very defenders of civilization itself, the forces of good against the forces of evil. For this war is indeed a crusade to save the freedom of the world.
C'est peut-être une diversion vu d'un seul coup, non?
Good evening. Do you speak English?
Yes, a little.
We were talking about a ceasefire for Christmas Eve. The outcome of this war won't be decided tonight. I don't think anyone would criticize us for laying down our rifles on Christmas Eve.
Don't worry. It is just for tonight.
The world made them enemies.
What are you waiting for? Shoot him!
One night would make them brothers.
Notre artillerie va vous bombarder dans 10 minutes. Et je vous propose de venir vous mettre à l'abri, dans ma tranchée.
There you go, chat. I said. It's a movie we do every year for Christmas, and for good reason. It is a very, very good movie. Anyways, chat, hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. And if I don't, hopefully you have a Merry Christmas. Bye-bye, everyone.